start with the founding of this country and why this room is so important. We teach all of our kids about separation of powers because this is how we were going to make sure checks and balances, that we were going to have a legislative branch, an executive branch, and a judicial branch. Each had power, but each had limitations on it. And that was how we would try to assure ourselves that we would not devolve into another monarchy, into a single powerful person who controlled us all. And that was so important, as you know, that the very first amendment we do is one of guaranteeing the government will not interfere with the press. But think what was unspoken, that as long as we can keep the government from seizing control of it, it will be powerful, it will be strong, it will be independent, it will get out there and fight for those readers by showing them what it can do, what it has done, engaging them in the fights of the day. That was the presumption of the system. And then I want to intersect it with something else, and that is how much of our nation was built on basically the notion of markets. Markets will work. That'll be competition again. Everybody will have a chance to build something. Start your own small business. Have a better idea. Figure out how to do it cheaper or offer more service. And that's what's going to make your business thrive. And now those two have banged into each other in a ferocious way. And the reason they banged into each other, in my view, has another history to it, and that is basically 45 years that we have not enforced antitrust law. Still old school. I still take a paper version of the Boston Globe, a paper version of the New York Times. I took a paper version of the Cambridge Chronicle until it went out of business. But the reality is, I'm not telling you all anything you don't know, I'm just trying to link the pieces up, is that the big distribution, the newsboy of today, is electronic. And two outfits, Meta and Google, own pretty much all the newsboys. I mean, that's how I think of this. So instead of the days where you printed the paper and you handed it out and you charged for it, and you did both halves of what it meant to communicate with people across the state and across the country, you now only do half of it. And then you have to deal with effectively a duopoly in order to get your content out. And one of the tricks about monopolies that makes them so effective and so profitable is they pay you less and less and less for your content because you've got nowhere else to go. And they get more and more and more powerful. And that gives them power in Washington. Local papers closed every week. 2.5. Yeah, just over and over and over. And the best economic estimate I can get is that our overall content generators on news, you all, are owed somewhere between $10 and $13 billion a year for the value of the content that you create, for which you are paid, in effect, little or nothing. So, how do you put these pieces back together? Well, the first one is where I started, and that is the urgency. If we just keep losing one paper after another, yeah, it's the smallest one first, I get that. Towns go down from 3 to 2, and then to 1, and then to 0. But it's not going to stop there. It's the next round, and the next round, and the next round. That this fundamentally undermines our democracy. That we really don't have anyone to be afraid. We don't have anyone who's looking over our shoulders and all. The good news is we actually know pretty much how to fix this. This is not like, oh my God, this is a cloud that has descended from the heavens and nobody can figure out how it works. Nope, works like every other monopolist. And the answer is, in my view, you call them out for these monopoly practices. So we finally have a judge that just, and I love that opinion, said on Google, they're a monopoly. Hello, this is a monopoly. Whoa. I think you got to break them up. And I think that's going to be the core. And by the way, for those of you who think, oh my gosh, break them up, do understand. We've been doing this forever in our history. Standard Oil became Standard Oil of New Jersey and Standard